case study of a project which had great ambitions but didn't quite achieve what it was intended to achieve. And he's going to talk us through sort of why that was and some lessons to be learned. So over to you, Mark.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Mark, Sales Marketing Director of Vue Entertainment. A little bit of background. Company just last weekend launched 69 Cinema at Westfield Stratford City. If you haven't been, go. It's a great place. We do about 39 million admissions a year. We have about 21% market share in the UK. I was with the company when we launched in 2001, and we've seen it grow from 2 cinemas to our current level. So it's been a very interesting journey. And today I'm going to take you on a journey which is a different one, and I'm going to air my dirty laundry with you and take you through some of the pains and anguishes that I have to face most days of the week in terms of coming up with new ideas, thinking they're brilliant, and then finding they're not sometimes, and then having to explain the reasons why to the rest of the team. Clearly in my business, innovation is very important, and at Vue we do pride ourselves on being innovative, but we're highly analytical as well. So I'm happy to talk fluffy stuff, but very often when I get spreadsheets out, I'm the one that has to make the numbers stack up. So here's one that started life where the numbers did stack up. Teen Screen. There was a lot of discussion in the last few years about teenagers slightly disengaging from cinema, not least because they spend all their time on bloody Facebook and on the website and actually never getting out of their rooms or seeing the light of day. So we thought, well, we'll come up with Teen Screen to see if there's something that we could get teenagers even more engaged into cinema. And we actually tested 2 ideas. This one you see here, which is Missed It, Saw It, See It Again. Your favourite movies chosen by you, i.e. they can vote for it, brought back to the big screen, especially for them, and it's only for teenagers aged 13 to 18. We tested this idea alongside the fact that they could. We'll hold special screenings for teenagers where the hell they can do whatever they bloody well like in the cinema. They can page, they can shout, they can text and talk on the phone. But of course they really hated that idea because it might disturb their movie experience, which is very odd, considering half of them do that most of the time. So we looked at this, and the first case, as one always does, typical, you do some research. We did quite a lot of research for a company called Dubbit. We looked at, gave them a whole bunch of questions, and actually we found, I have to say I was quite excited when the data came back. I could more than double their cinema going frequency with this idea. Now, if you think how many teenagers there are in the UK, how often they go, and the fact that we have a big share of that market, the numbers could be very interesting. The downside really was obviously that if we're bringing films back, they're not going to pay the full price. So we ended up, as you see here, we ended up with a price of $1.95 for 2D movies and $2.95 for 3D films, because teenagers didn't really want to spend more than £2. So as you can imagine, the business model is always looking a bit tricky where you're not charging very much and you have to do an awful lot to get a lot back in terms of money. We asked teenagers, well, when would they go? And of course, everybody said, oh, Saturday, peak time, 2 quid ticket, brilliant. We said, well, no, you can't do that because this is when our main films are on for peak pricing. So we actually tested an idea where we put the film on immediately after school, soon after school. If they come out of school, they would have enough time to pop home and come back out and sit down. And you can see here, in the middle, after school, 66% of the teenagers said they would be quite happy to see it during the week, around 6 o'clock. I thought, well, that's good, because that will help our midweek business. So another little box tick there, thought that would be really good. And here we tested out some films, and we've got a couple of arrows here. The red arrows are pointing to films up in 3D. And the first box on the left says that 64 of the guys that we researched wanted to see it for the first time, and 151 would then go and see it the second time, or see it because they missed it the first time. And you can even see Avatar in 2D, 40 plays 110, so you can see these numbers looking kind of interesting. about the scene again and kind of feel missed it. I think teenagers do miss a lot of films. As I said, they don't get out very often in terms of they can't organise themselves either. But the big teenage films, they actually have to go and see first, but there's a whole load of other films that they're not in so much of a hurry. So we came up with Teen Screen. So this is the creative we produced. Like it or hate it, this is what we did do. We were quite pleased with it. You can see that we pinched the L from Glee, moved it to the V to make it U. So we're not proud. I'm not too proud. I'm not worried about being a bit copycat sometimes. But anyway, this is the creative we did, and this is the master sort of shots. We launched it on myview.com, which is a very busy website. We get about 4+ million unique users a month. We're very big, probably within the top 5 of entertainment websites in the UK. So we launched it on our website, and it had a voting mechanic, and the teenagers could vote on the films they wanted to see. And it was a live recording of how well each film was ranked. And of course, we only allowed each teenager to vote once, because some people did try and vote a lot of times, I can tell you. We had a lot of cinema point of sale. We had standees and posters, and we produced special retail offers as well. Who says cinema food's expensive? £3. So they could go to the cinema for a fiver, basically, have something to eat, watch a movie, which we thought was just about the right price. So here comes the social media stuff. So then we created we actually created a Facebook page. This is about a year or so ago now, when Teen Screen first launched. And immediately, within the first week, we had like 16,000 likes. And we thought, oh my God, this is fantastic. Oh, the world's loved us. It was brilliant news. And the teenagers were all like, oh, this is fantastic. It's the best news we've ever heard. Well, anyway, so we were really pleased with the Facebook. We were chatting away to them. We done it with monitoring for us and feeding back to them, getting them to vote online and all that sort of thing. And in fact, I think we got as high as about 25,000 or 30,000 likes on our Facebook page, on this page alone. This was separate to our corporate page, which is really separate. And being generous, we gave away 75,000 free tickets across the circuit. So this ran every single cinema in the end, twice a week. So we were trying to get people engaged with it. So we had lots of tickets given away online, Facebook, via the people working for us on the ground and so on. Because when you initially have empty screens, it doesn't really cost you very much to give a free ticket away. We did online activity, we had Facebook pay-per-clicks, we did display activity on E4, Congregate, Play 101, Sugarscope, Habbo, a whole bunch of stuff in terms of online advertising, display and PPC. Some of it was quite successful, some of it was less so successful, but we ran it December to January, and essentially we also had 50 campaign managers offering support around. These are local area people working around specific cinemas who went around promoting it, handing out leaflets and free tickets, and we obviously had our free ticket giveaway. And interestingly, we talked about gaming there. We had an interactive movie quiz that we created especially for this, for teenagers to play with tickets. So we even had some fun gaming elements as well. A few online insights for you. Google Display drove the highest volume of clicks to the Teen Screen website. And it actually, for us, it was the most cost-effective medium. We expanded the online game sites. We should have really had more. We should have done more on the online gaming, because we literally came out quite late on the gaming stuff, and we could have done a lot more, but it was technically quite tricky for us. But I think for future stuff, we're certainly doing more gaming. In fact, we ran one for Glee 3D. If you haven't seen it, you definitely have to see that one. And we found the UK's biggest Gleek and we did a whole load of things. So as you can see, we had keyword targeting, we had search, we had PPC, we had in cinema, and a whole load of other things to promote Teen Screen. And in fact, we also had a trailer that we produced for the big screen, ran in every one of the films that we felt was teen-based, and that ran for the best part of 6 months. So you can imagine on screen, in cinema, on our web, on Facebook, on the ground, and pay-per-click advertising and display advertising over the course of about 9 months. I think we spent probably not far short of £200,000, which probably most people's budget may not sound very much, but for mine it's quite a bit. And it was, I'll tell you what we also found out now. So we found on Facebook, actually, obviously a lot of them had been to Teen Screen, 44%. But actually a lot of them hadn't. It's only because they never got around to it. They like it, they really think it's a great idea, but even after 12 months they didn't go. It's kind of interesting, right? So you can have something really great, engage people, they really love it, and they don't know anything about it. And maybe the teen audience, but it's just worth remembering that. The other thing is that whilst we made the whole thing 13 to 18-year-olds, it's the 17-year-olds primarily that went, which is interesting. And also, they obviously went with 1 or 2 friends. So the group size was quite healthy. Obviously, teenagers don't go marrying and go with mates. And that implies they have to organise themselves, which is partly the Achilles heel of the idea. And obviously, those people who did go, we found they really loved it. I mean, you know, once they went, they got hooked, they were going an awful lot. I mean, they were sold with the idea. Now, what were the key drivers here? And this is where we're going to start getting into kind of a wash-up. Price. Teenagers really wanted low price cinema. We certainly gave it to them, but it did have caveats which were not the latest films. And of course, teenagers being teenagers, they like to see the latest big films first with their friends and not wait 8 weeks before they have to see it. And the film selection is really important. Although we did actually ask them to vote, and we put on the films that they wanted, a lot of them didn't go, which is kind of a whole thing, right? So we listened, we actioned, and we still had an issue that we going. Now the other thing is, again, it's what about, you know, when you have an idea, you've got to get into the who, what. In other words, who are these people you're talking to? What do they think and they do about their brain and mind? Obviously, for the youngsters, let's say the younger end of the 13s, 14s, maybe some of the 15s, they would go home after school and their parents just wouldn't let them out again. Right? Homework, that's it, you're not going out. So what teenagers were saying is what they would want to do, but not what they were able to do, which is kind of an interesting conundrum. So it's the older teenagers who basically had the authority, if you like, to not go home after school or just do their homework later. So we also tested awareness and non-attendance, and quite interestingly, we did actually pretty well actually. Thursday and Friday nights we scored here in the green on the left, says they were pretty much aware of when they were, the screenings. But it's that one on the right hand side there at the top. I'm planning to go, but I haven't just got around to it just yet. You know, that is, you can just hear a teenager saying that. Interesting. In fact, nothing else in comparison was a significant block. Even the film time issue was relatively small in comparison with that. There is another interesting point. Again, this talks about behaviour and again, I don't know how it impacts on social, particularly that clearly exams do play an important part in a teenager's life, and cinema attendance is impacted at certain times of the year, as you can see here. They go to the cinema 60–64% less frequently during the exam periods, or when they're studying for exams. We expected that to some degree, but I didn't expect quite that drop. And we're now sort of passing it on to the studios as well. It's better than mine. So we ran Teen Screen for nearly a full year. Believe it or not, we really stuck with it, and the average attendance per week across 68 sites was about 1,000. So you would get some cinemas that had like 10 or 15 kids in, and another cinema with 2 or 3, and that doesn't really help with the experiential side of teens going out and having a good time. But it remained relatively consistent despite this curve going up, which is a cumulative thing. It did peak and trough according to the films we put on, so Justin Bieber, of course, did quite well, as you would imagine. And Fred the movie did less well, but we were trying to film. So essentially, it does, the 1,000 a week is pretty much where it ended up. So that is an unbelievably quick, rapid fire through basically something that we spent an awful lot of time researching, modelling, proving to the business, briefing the cinemas, getting everybody prepared, doing the PR launches, creating all of the creative work, everything, right? So we really ticked almost every single box that we could think of that we had available to us at the time. But we pulled it, and we pulled it just before this summer, actually. For a number of reasons. One is the attendance was about 1,000 a week, and when we're doing, as I say, 38 million admissions a year, if we added an extra 50,000 attendances, it's clearly not going to radically change our business model. And it didn't have any significant field of potential. There was no sort of 5 or 6 cinemas in the country that were doing sell-out shows or anything like that. It was almost universally the same level everywhere, which is pretty low. And we pulled in the summer because there were loads of really great blockbuster movies coming out, and we felt we didn't want the teenagers to choose older films as opposed to newer ones. So we didn't want any sort of erosion of our existing business. The other thing is, I think their intention was good, but their response in terms of attending was actually poor. And maybe that's just a lot of us. I think we have a lot of good intentions, but when we actually go, well, am I actually going to do it? A lot of us don't. And maybe social media might be a bit of that, and I just pass that on to you because people go, oh yeah, I'll see you down there, whatever. And how many people actually carry out what they actually say they're going to do? So this might be just a warning direction, a warning thing in that direction to say, if somebody, 80% of people say they're going to do it, don't think it's 80, it's probably more like 20%. And in teenagers, it may be less. So I think the research was really solid. We did 3 or 4 big waves of research. I mean, technically it was flawless. And our conclusions were perhaps a little bit misguided. So be careful when you're doing some research and then applying that. But we did roll it out, and we were happy to take the risk because the risk was relatively low for us. But I think what the research said was that teenagers just wanted cheap cinema. Although we were, and still are, we were the first cinema in the country to launch teen pricing, specific prices for teenagers, and others have followed since. But we recognise that teenagers are price sensitive, and particularly so perhaps in this current economic climate. I mean, maybe pocket money is going to be reduced, but it's certainly going to get less for the amount of money that they have. And the other thing is, I think we talk to the teenagers on Facebook, but not along with the parents. Right? And that maybe we should have brought more of the parents along in social media terms, as well as the teenagers themselves. So again, it's sort of talking to both sides of the decision-making process, not just the one. Teens' ability to organise themselves is limited, and I think that's being kind. I think men generally are rubbish at organising themselves, and every man in this room is rubbish at organising things. Women, brilliant, well done, you're great organisers. But there's absolutely no doubt, and we see that, for example, girls' nights out in cinema are hugely popular because they can organise themselves out to go in groups. Men, not a chance. Once they're married, girlfriend, that's it. But they just go down the pub or whatever. But anyway, so it's quite interesting. So there's some stuff we're doing about organising for evenings out that we're working on at the moment, and that's where another social media opportunity we're looking at. I think the offer was too broad. Maybe a bit ignorant at the time, but we felt we just wanted to keep the net a bit wide to start with, but now I think if we were going to do anything, we would carve it up even into smaller chunks. And I think we could have done social media better. I am certainly no social media expert, like a lot of you are here, but I think we could have given teenagers tools for them to use to communicate to each other, pass things on better, other than just us talking to teenagers. So, but this was over a year ago, I've learned a bit since. And I think the other thing is, that I understood this was the case, but teenagers say they like a lot of things on Facebook, but that actually doesn't really mean very much in terms of action. And I have a feeling that the more this sort of social media grows, all the likes grow, and all these people plus ones and everything, and whatever grows, the more we're just going to like everything, right? Because we just like lots. But whether it changes our lives or not, I'm not entirely sure. So maybe the teenagers are worse at it at the moment, but I suspect it's going to go up the age profile further. That was some of the thoughts that I've had on our teen screen outing. And I put here, thank you very much, and send your answers to my problems on the postcard because you see I'm back in the age of post. No, I'm not, I just did it to be annoying. You can post me, whatever it is, you can email me or whatever. But that's what I have for you. I hope you found that interesting. Thank you. So we've got some questions.
Have you calculated acquisition costs?
The acquisition cost of of a new teenager as opposed to a current customer? You see, you have to get into my spreadsheet for that now. If you have an existing customer, the only way it's going to make more money is that they're going to go more, right? Or they're going to stop going to a competitor. If you want me to get a brand new teenage customer who's not going to the cinema at all, that's a tough shot because they're probably they may be playing, they might be completely football mad, right? They play football every day, or they might be playing a musical instrument, and that's the most important thing in their lives. And only at certain times of the year, like exams, do everything else get pushed down because the exams take over. That's the most important thing for them. So, new customers or just building existing ones is two separate questions.
Hi there. Did you consider going out and maybe finding communities of people who are already talking a lot about film as teenagers and enthusiast viewers, maybe makers, and doing it that way around, as well as your other activities that you pushed out?
That's a good question. We talked about it, we didn't do it. And I think we could have done something more on that on Facebook. We're quite good at universities, which is the next group up at this, where we do actually work with university groups and film societies and all that sort of thing. But I must admit, I didn't go out seeking film groups amongst the non-university crowd. I imagine they're film fanatic-y kind of lot, and I just wanted to get more of a sort of a much broader audience. But yeah, I could have done that, and I am looking at doing that more for other groups, for cinema goers.
Hi, I just had a question more around how you decided to pick that age range, given that the film certifications are 15 and 18, and particularly if that came up as one of your conclusions at the end.
Yeah, well, that is partly down to our current pricing structure. So our teen pricing, we actually have teen pricing from 13 to 18 because you get child prices up to the age of 12. So I didn't want to buck our existing pricing structure, which is already established in the business. So to do something outside that would really complicate the messaging. And we couldn't play 15 rated movies because of it. So we went in knowing that this is an issue. I think if we just did 15 rated movies and did 15 to 17s, then maybe I was really worried about our age band being too small. And the number of 15 rated movies are actually quite low. They're actually released a lot over 12A. But of course, like In Betweeners, how many under 15s did we try to jump into In Betweeners the last few weeks? Lots. Right, so we, 12, 13-year-olds always want to see a 15 rated movie, always. Always.
Do you think the social media actually harmed your campaign by seeing all the likes and all the hype and all the talks on the social media? Said, yeah, it's going to work, and maybe it's, I don't know, harmed by not put enough effort in other channels?
No, I don't think it harmed us at all. If anything, I don't think it was big enough to do us any harm, put it that way. But I think it was big enough to do us some good. Right? And I think we didn't have a single bad word on Facebook at all. And everybody's just raving about it. And we just kept saying, tell your friends. But the only thing is, we never gave them anything to tell their friends with. Right? And that's the thing I've probably learned in the last year. You can't just say, I'll just tell your mates. You have to help them do it. And that I think would be more beneficial. But I don't think it did us any harm. Well, the other thing is, I think our website, our main website, probably skews away from teenagers. The myview.com website is definitely older and more families than it is teenagers. So I might say we've got a really big website, but at the moment I don't have any teenagers actually use it. I need to fix.
Last question.
Hi there. I have a 15-year-old sitting next to me who's very devastated. I think it's an amazing idea, but I think something that possibly that you missed was that teenagers don't talk to their parents. So it's something to share with each other, but then there's that massive phase where you don't talk to your parents. However, as a parent, I think your younger audience would have loved to go, but they can't get there without a parent taking them.
Right.
So I think to offer something again where if a parent or parents of small children were driving 13, 14, 15-year-olds to the cinema, you could then see something and they could see something separate, not have to be with you, pretend they don't know you. I think it would be really successful. I think they'd, embrace that.
Well, I think it's a good idea. It just shows how complicated
Very complicated.
This is, because if I encourage a parent to encourage their children to go to the cinema who's 16, that 16-year-old is not going to listen. In fact, they just won't go. Right? And it's just end of story. But so it's a really fine balance. And of course, this particular market segment is incredibly complicated.
Yes.
And a lot of segments are complicated. But this one is, and you talk about accessibility to the cinema, that lives, parents have to drop them off, pick them up, most go by bus, there's back home, if they go to school, they have to go home to change because they're not going to go to a cinema in their school uniform. Oh my God, right? So there's all that sort of stuff, right? And what it does, it shows that the social media, nothing ever came out of social media on this, and nothing came out of research on this. Which is interesting. So I throw it out there as a lesson and as a bit of information for you. Sort of thing I think today. Great. Thank you very much.